and then we will get rocking. Maybe. There we go. I'm gonna lasso. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for abs, thighs, glutes. My name is Audra. And as always, I want you to listen to your body. Feel free to modify as needed. And today our prop will be a ball. If you don't have a ball at home, you are welcome to take a couple pillows and fold them. You can fold your mat a couple times. You can even like roll up a yoga mat for some of it. It's pretty chill. You could also just opt out entirely of the prop. The end. We're going to begin actually on the ball underneath our hips. So knees bent, feet flat, and the ball or pillow is going to slide underneath your sacrum. Now, if you're like, what is your sacrum? It's that shield-shaped bone in between your cheeks. And just kind of feel where you are. If the ball is up on your low back, it should be a little bit lower. And if it feels like it's about to shoot out from beneath your hips, maybe get it a little baby bit higher. You should feel relatively supported here. Now we're going to take both of our hands, place one of them on your sternum and one on your low ribs. And we're going to breathe. So first, just inhale for 5 counts. And notice what moves first. And then exhale for 5 to 7. Inhale through that nose for 5 counts. And then exhale through your mouth for 5 to 7 counts. Now, in an ideal world, when we say belly breath, we're not actually pushing our belly out. We are allowing our diaphragm to lower, and we're allowing our low abs to expand without force, right? So when you inhale, ideally your bottom hand will lift before your top one, but it's okay to have your top hand lift. And then both hands will sink down on your exhale. One more like that. And then as you exhale, just start to engage your pelvic floor a little bit, right? So we don't have to change the shape of our spine. We're just trying to find a little engagement and then relax on your inhale. Exhale, small engagement. Now let's layer on. On your next exhale, you find that small engagement, and we're also going to think about our hip bones being pulled towards each other, right? So if you put a finger on each hip bone, those fingertips would draw towards each other. Ribs sinking down towards your belly button. Hopefully everybody's feeling their low abs kick on even just a little bit. On your next exhale, we think about those hip bones coming together, and then you can press your whole hips, your whole pelvis, your whole sacrum onto your prop as if you were trying to pop it, and hopefully you felt your low abs kick on even more, right? If you just squeezed your buns here, you probably lifted off. So keep them soft. That's not something I say often, right? So soft, relaxed glutes, deep abdominals, hip bones towards each other, press down. Last one like this. And hold. Try to maintain that downward pressure and allow one leg to float to tabletop. Reach that knee away from you, press the foot into the floor, feel the floor below you, float your other leg. And just notice, as you go back and forth, if one side connects differently than the other. It's okay. While we try to find symmetry in our body, How many of us are perfectly symmetrical? 0, right? Not even our lungs are symmetrical because one of them has to be smaller to make room for our heart, right? So don't worry if it's not perfect from side to side. It's just information. And it's more like we're trying to optimize, right? See if we can get it a little bit more similar rather than like forcing it to like not move at all. Float one leg to tabletop, hold, bring your other leg with it. Now, if this is not comfortable, you can always bring one foot down. Now squeeze your knees together like you're trying to pop a balloon with your inner thighs. And then imagine pushing your feet into a wall, so hopefully your hamstrings just kicked on a little bit. Start to reach your feet away from you a few inches. Hold out. Exhale, allow the knees just to fold towards you a little bit. So you're in a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt just because your hips are elevated, right? So we're not trying to increase that tilt, but we're also not trying to lose it. So think of your thighs connecting up towards your ribs. And when you get to about your end range, just hold for a second. And then let gravity help the knees back in. Reach, hold, and then maybe sneak your feet another ½ an inch away. Legs don't need to straighten. In fact, sometimes, if we immediately straighten them, our quads and hip flexors will try to do the work of our abs. So if you're like, yeah, this is really easy, bend the knees, engage your pelvic floor, see if you can find just the teeniest bit more ab control. Last one. Extend both feet towards the sky. Reach one foot away from you. It'll kind of start to fade towards the ground. Bend the knee, drag the heel in, push the other foot away. We're going into bicycles. Reach. So depending on your hamstring flexibility, maybe your foot is pretty close to your face. Maybe it's towards the sky. Maybe it's towards the sky with a slight knee bend. Any variation is okay. 2 more like this. I always picture riding one of those giant wheeled bicycles from what, the 1800s? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, good. And then we reverse. So bend, slide that foot out, and then allow the thigh bone to fold. Good. This one is almost more just coordination than anything. But before you lift that extended leg, see if you can connect it to the opposite rib cage just a little bit. Last 2. Last 1. Both knees can come to tabletop. Step 1 foot to the ground. Reconnect your ribs towards your belly button, hip bones kind of towards each other. Push that foot into the ground, squeeze that glute. See if you can start the idea of hovering off the ball. And hold. And then squeeze the glute a little bit more. Maybe you can hover. And then down an inch, squeeze. Down 1 inch and squeeze. So depending on how inflated the ball is, depending on your proportions, you might never make it off the ball. That is okay, right? I will never make it off this ball, but I'm pretending like I'm hovering, right? So just find that glute connection, that foot to glute connection. 2 more, making sure your knee feels okay here. Last one, hold it up. The leg that is in tabletop, push the foot away from you and then allow it to fold in. As you push the foot away, think of reaching so far away that your abs have to kick on, right? It's kind of like a tension rod, a shower curtain rod. Good. Couple more here. 4, 3 more. Relaxing through your back, relaxing through your shoulders, which I know might feel impossible. So easy way to do that, find your abs and glutes. And when you breathe, inhale 3-dimensionally. Last one, bend the knee, step the foot to the ground, float the other leg up. Once you've made it, press that foot into the ground, start to hover off the ball a little bit. Now squeeze that glute a little bit more. Maybe you have the idea of hovering more. Relax just partially and then squeeze again. And sink down 1/2 inch and then squeeze up again. Anybody not feeling their glutes? Great. So find that foot to glute connection, right? If you have trouble finding it, think about your heel pressing into the floor and then your toes pressing into the floor. We have 3, 2, last one, hold it up, push that foot away from you, reaching through that inner thigh, through those deep abdominals, and allow that knee to fold. As you do this, if your hips chase your foot, see if you can find just a little bit more connection to maintain that stable low back and hip position. Good, everybody. We have 4. That side glute and underbutt on that stable leg should be talking. Thank you. Good. Yay! Just checking. I didn't say it was saying nice things. And step that foot down. Lift your hips off of the prop. Come on down. Take the prop, pop it between your knees. Now you can take your hands, place them on your thighs, and gently press your thighs or hands into the thighs at 10%, and then relax. So we're going to experiment with something real quickly. When we do our first chest lift, I want you to think about just shortening the distance between your ribs and your hips. That's it, okay? So hands behind your head, elbows forward, shoulders down. Just think about crunching your ribs down toward your hips. And then look at your low abs. Did you kind of accidentally create a little bit of that doming shape? I did. Now, see if you can, instead of just shortening the distance between your ribs and your hips, imagine you have a beach ball and you want to reach up and over that beach ball as you come up into your lift. Did you get less doming in the low abs? If you did, that's an indicator that you engaged your transverse abdominis, which is what we want. So if you're like, I didn't, man, I'm sorry. It's fine. See if you can sink your low abs down to the ground first, and then come up. Good. And last one like this. Hold, hands come forward, push into an imaginary surface, see if you can get a little bit higher. Hands come back behind your head, squeeze the prop. So squeeze the ball and squeeze the ball. So we're finding inner thigh, hopefully. Now, if you only feel upper inner thigh, more that groin region, push your feet into the floor, imagine dragging your heels toward you, and then squeeze and see if you can find a little bit more of that full inner thigh engagement. Don't grip the hamstrings that much, Kyle. Yeah, and then Nancy, bring your feet slightly closer together. Yeah, 4, 3, 2, hold. Now place one hand on the ground. All right, look at what hand it is. Mine is my left. So you are going to think same side inner thigh. Okay? Now you are rotating to look at that hand and squeezing harder with that same side inner thigh. Good, and back to center, good. Try not to lower if you can help it. Same side inner thigh, rotate to look at your hand, and back, good. If you need to, of course, you can intentionally bring your head down and then come back up. But if you aren't intentionally bringing the head down and then back, see if you can maintain the height here. So you're still curling your collarbones forward every time you come back to center. To squeeze that inner thigh a little bit more. Last one. Good. Come all the way down. Other side. Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? Come on up. Yeah. I'm like, is it a surprise though? Hand down. Gentle little squeeze, and then squeeze more with that same side inner thigh. And then back. Squeeze more. And we're trying to think about that armpit pointing towards the opposite knee. Yeah. A few more here. And how does this side feel in comparison to the other? 3. So good, huh? 2. And last 1. Come all the way down. Nice job. Go ahead, squeeze the ball, find that deep abdominal connection, lift your heels. Toes stay down. Now we're going to start this with our head down, trying to think of our corseting muscles stabilizing us, okay? So hands are going to be on your hip bones for a second. Squeeze the prop, flex your feet. See if your back moved or your hips moved. And then tap it down. Reconnect through the corseting muscle, flex your feet. Now if flexing both feet means your knees move, try flexing one foot at a time to start. 2 more. Everybody feeling how those deep abdominals have to kick in here? Yeah. Sometimes they can be a little overshadowed by our superficial muscles. So we want to sometimes do it without the superficial ones running the show. But guess what you can do now? Come into your chest lift if you like. So if you're not able to get above your shoulder blades, or you feel like you're using your neck, once again, we are coming up and over that beach ball. Hands can come forward, hands behind your head. Squeeze the prop, flex your feet. And tap. Hey, Kyle, keep your heels up. Yeah, there you go. That's actually easier, isn't it? Good. 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 Yeah, heels can stay up. Good. Beautiful. Few more. 3. Now notice how challenging it is here. It's because our knees are actually past neutral, right? So now hold, float your legs to tabletop. Now reach your knees away from you and then squeeze to flipped. And then reach them away, lifting a little higher towards them if you can. Nice, how's everybody doing? Great? Yeah. Now when you're ready, you can add a rotation. And back to center. And rotate to the other side. If you're not ready to add a rotation, don't do it. If you need your head down, is that okay? Yeah, absolutely. Try to maintain that height if you can. So try not to lower when your legs go away, right? We're trying to still curl up and over that beach ball. Keeping the opposite hip nice and heavy. One more each side and then we get a break. You're welcome. Same. And then both feet down, head comes down. Go ahead, take the prop, pop it in one of your knee pits. Now go ahead, you can hold on to that shin for a second just to help you get in a really relaxed position in your hip. And then squeeze the ball with that hammy, a little hamstring, and then relax. Let's give it another little squeeze and relax and squeeze. Good. 2 more like this. Now keep that squeeze and push the foot away from you a little bit. Now we have options. Let's go through them. Head down, slide your other foot out long, slide that foot in. Option 1, foot slides out, foot comes in. Option 2, foot pushes out and folds in, traveling through the air. Of course, if you're like, oh, but when I go to pull my leg in, my hip flexor overworks, you can always still drag that heel in to get that hamstring to do a little bit more. If you'd like, you can always come into your chest lift. Yeah. And then if that's not hard enough, you can always tap the toe that's holding onto the ball to the ground. Good, everybody. Also, I'm very proud of all of you picking what's working best for you and your body today. We have a couple more. 3. And 2. Last one. Now, whichever version you're doing, you're going to rotate towards that leg. So extend the first leg. If your head is down, it's okay. Take the opposite arm as leg that has the ball, push your hand into the leg, push the leg into your hand, your oblique should start kicking on. And then fold it back in, okay? If you are rotating, great. If you want, you can also add on even if you're rotating. With that rotation, we're trying to think of pure rotation. So if we're side bending, right, we're lengthening through that rib and hip. 2 more. Nancy, come towards me more. There you go. Yeah, you're welcome. Last one. Come back to center. Leg extended, float it back or float it up, reach it away, push it into the ground. Flex, float up. Point, reach, push into the ground. Yeah. Keep squeezing the ball. Couple more. 3. And 2. Last one. I have wonderful news. Other side. So let's, that's wonderful news, right? And so we're gonna start from the beginning. We get to start from the beginning. Let that leg relax in the socket. Drag your heel towards you so you're squeezing the ball and relax. And a little squeeze and relax, right? So we're just hugging the prop with our hamstring. Good, relaxing through your neck and shoulders because they don't need to help. We have a couple more here. And 2. And hold the squeeze. Imagine pushing that foot into an imaginary wall. So now the glute is also helping, and the leg that's on the ground, slide it out long. Then slide it back, right? And slide. If you have sticky socks on, you might have to kind of the drag in an awkward way. Now, if that isn't working for you and you really want your leg in the air, push your leg away and then allow it to fold in. Once again, you can always combine the two if you need just a little baby bit more hamstring to get out of the hip flexor. And then if you'd like, you can come into your chest lift, right? No problem. And then if you're ready, you tap the toe towards the ground. Now, everybody is going to feel different here. So if for any reason you're like, man, this quad won't chill out, find a position where it's not yelling, right? And then if you let that knee go away from you, squeeze the prop in order to get the back line of your leg to help you, okay? Couple more. And then when you're ready, we get to add on. We get to add that rotation and back. Now, if your head is down, it is a leg grab, but the leg isn't coming up, the hip isn't coming up. Instead, you're pushing that leg into your hand to find that oblique connection, right? The kind of an isometric hold. Now, if your head is elevated, you can still find that isometric contraction. Isometrics are really important, as are eccentric, right? Few more here. How's everybody doing? Great? Good. Don't forget to squeeze the ball. Couple more. Last one. And come all the way down. Both feet are coming onto the ground. You guys are cracking me up. We're gonna take the prop. We're gonna have it on the heel of our hands, right? So float one leg to tabletop. Think about it coming in from those abs, and you're gonna push the heels of your hands and ball into your leg. Good. And then other side step. Float, press. Making sure that the elbows are gently spiraling in without squeezing too much, right? We're trying to drive the hands from the abs and drive the knee from the abs, right? Of course, the hip flexor is working, but we don't want it to do all the work. Zone A is abs. Zone B is anything else. Now, if this is where you are, and you're like, yep, not moving, great. Otherwise, you can bring both legs to tabletop, push one foot away, and then it folds in. Same thing, you're still trying to drive the knee in from those abs. And find that isometric hold. Couple more here. Now, if you want more excitement in your life, we can accommodate you. You get to press, reach, and then see about rolling up and see about rolling down. And then press, reach, see about rolling up. Yeah, first, yeah, you gotta use a little bit of momentum your first time or two. And also, side note, first one or two doesn't quite count, right? Because your nervous system's still trying to figure out what you're doing, right? Yeah. And yeah. Good. It's trickier than it seems. You what? It's not easy. If you were like, why isn't this easy? Because it's really not. Good. And back down, yeah. So as you do this, yeah, yes, the leg that's coming in will still have to move away from you. But if you think of the leg that's extending almost as a lever, it helps you some, right? And you're still curling up as the lever pushes away from you, right? If you're like, well, I can do this, that's okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Last one. And we get to remain seated. Yay. Yay. All right. Since we have our prop, let's pop it between our heels. Now, we're going to reach for our feet. If you're like, I can't reach my feet, it's fine. First of all, find your sits bones. So if you're like sits bones, it's the bottom part of the pelvis, right? And then think about your pubic bone dropping down slightly so it forces you to lean forward a little, okay? Now, if you still can't reach your toes, it's okay, reach your shins. If you can reach your toes, great. We're gonna pull our hands down with our armpits and then lift our ribs and squeeze the prop. Now, keep that connection of your abs, let go of your legs or your feet. And now roll away from your feet, one bone at a time. First one never counts. Now, allow those arms to come overhead, keeping those ribs down, but that nice neutral pelvis. And we're gonna roll forward, right? It's a diving forward. Now, the good news is you can squeeze the prop, which engages those inner thighs. The bad news is it's causing your legs to be more narrow, so you don't have as much like width and support, right? So if that's too intense and you're like, man, I just keep pulling to one side, it doesn't feel quite normal, that's okay, give it a shot. If it still doesn't feel right, ditch the ball, widen your feet. You can also bend your knees a baby bit, right? So yeah, bend your knees slightly for me. Yeah. Yeah, let go of the ball, it's all good. Yeah. So if you have trouble coming up, a pad underneath your low back can help. It just gives you a little bit of support, right? Also, don't worry about rolling up being your end range or the end result. The way I used to do roll-ups was like this. I would literally get stuck and go and try to force my way up, right? But now, if I just relax my spine, just think about a roll, and maybe I am successful and maybe I'm not, that's okay. You can also, yeah, so close. I have an idea for you. I'll tell you after class. You can also grab your hands behind your thigh, press your thigh. Yeah, yep, exactly. And then you just do the other side. Yeah. And then press, yeah. Good. Last one, Nancy, you can curl and roll more beforehand. Yeah. Good. Yes. And we get to hold this last one up. You guys thought we were done with abs, didn't you? We're not. We're gonna use, yeah. We're gonna use the ball behind us for a moment. Let's bend our knees. Now, hey, guess what? If you need a break, take one. The ball behind us is for support. Think about your shoulder blades drawing down your back. You leaving? You ghosting us? Yeah. Yeah. Think about your shoulders drawing down your back, lifting through the crown of your head. Good. Now, before we even really do much else, we're gonna push our feet into the ground, curl your tailbone towards your face, and start to push your lower abs through the ball. And then fold forward and restack. And then curl, looking down, relaxing the shoulders, and then dive forward and restack. Now, if this is where you are, great. You guys look nervous. Don't be nervous. That's why this is if this is where you are. If you're like, I would like more work, please, no problem. You can move the ball back. And just tap it, and then dive forward. If you're like, yeah, I could use more, hands can come forward. And then we curl, and then dive. Good. If you want more work, slide it back farther. And instead of just putting all your weight on it, right? Imagine I'm pulling your fingers. So you're not quite able to put all the weight on it. Yeah. And last one like this. So curl a little bit from here. Yeah, there you go. And then imagine I'm pulling your fingers a little bit and you're just gonna hold. So you've got less weight on the ball, like 5 pounds less than your full weight, yeah? And then you float one leg up. Kyle, you look so determined. Other side. Yeah. Think about the knee pulling towards you more than just like extending, yeah? Curl, yeah. Shoulders. Good, everybody. Now you can take same arm as leg out to the side. So much harder, right? Yeah. Yeah, you're doing great. Yeah, I know. Couple more. Last one each side. You guys are getting sassy today. And curl up and restack. All right, now that gives you a little idea of where you'll be. I'm gonna move mine a little bit closer. Hands behind your head, shoulders down. Some of you know where we're going. Elbows in your periphery, so elbows forward. Nod your chin for me. There we go. Good, yeah. And then curl until you touch your prop. And then try not to let your weight be on the prop. Then all we get to do, take our elbows out to the side and then back. Try not to let the chin come forward, so we're still lengthening up through the crown of the head. Yeah. Feel much more work that is just to take the elbows wide? Yeah. But this prop is for you guys, right? So if you're like, I would like this much closer to me, and that's okay. Kyle, nod your chin, don't let it come forward. Thank you. Yeah. And you don't even need to let the arms go back as much. Think more about if you were taking off a big coat, you're widening through everything. Yeah. 2 more. You guys stop? It's all right, yeah. Good. Yeah. Last one. Hands come forward. And we restack. Okay, it's teaser time, everybody. Yeah. But guess what? We have so many options. First, extend your legs forward. Let's just see if we can use physics to help us out. Great. You guys are like, what? Physics? Yes. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Imagine pushing your feet away from you, right? Round your back. Curl behind your tailbone and hold. Good. Now think about pushing your feet away, and then we take our hands, swim them back, see if that lets you float your legs a little bit. Yeah. And then come forward. Those were beautiful. How did they feel? Good. Yeah, let's do it again. Squeeze those inner thighs, right? That's gonna help. Think about pushing your feet away from your ribs. Roll back behind your tailbone. And then take those arms out. Yeah. And then let them come forward. Now, maybe that is your teaser, right? Which is great, in which case do a couple more. If you're like, I want to do full teaser, great. You roll down, still think about those inner thighs, still think about that push of your feet, and then it's just a roll up where the legs join you, not from your back. Roll more. Okay, yeah. I know I just got real bossy with you, Nancy. Yeah, so curl, roll forward. Yeah. Good. Well, then don't lift your legs. Yeah. Like, let's be honest. This is one of those moves that it's kind of all about like ego, right? We all want to do like a pretty teaser, but I would rather you use your muscles and your body in a way that just feels really good, even if it's work, than like force a move that doesn't feel right. So Nancy, try bending your knees, okay? Yeah. Yeah, that was gorgeous. That's the exact same move. We just shortened your lever a little, right? So a bent knee teaser is still a beautiful teaser. Last one. Knees out, feet down, relax over your legs. Ah. Oh, did you say quads? Mm-hmm. Inner thighs, abs. Yeah, all right. Extend your legs for me. Now, if this is not okay for your wrists, we have other options. You can have your hands forward. My wrists hate that. I'm gonna have my hands out to the side, okay? Now first just sink down into your shoulders. What's up? Okay, guess what? We're never doing this again. We're gonna push the floor away to open, yeah, space. Yeah, now push into your feet. Find your abs, so if you time to arch, close your ribs, push into your feet, find that lift. And then you can slowly lower. Hey everybody, did you feel your glutes and hamstrings or did you feel your back? If you felt your back, you may have arched, right? So keep the ribs closed a little bit. Push, squeeze the glutes. Kyle, I want you to tuck your tailbone a little bit for me at the top. No problem. Check it out. If you don't love being on your wrists, bend your knees, feet flat, be on your elbows. It's a little bit more hamstring. Tuck your tailbone there right now. So lift up, tuck. Yes. Do you feel how that glute kicks on more? Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Two more. Last one. And come down. Now, just for funsies, we're going to cross our hands, cross our legs, try to come forward. Yeah, that's why it was just for fun. We're coming onto our forearms. Okay. Now, let's just feel where our shoulders are, right? If we're back behind, we're really close, or we're kind of sinking, push the floor away. Now, sink your whole spine towards the ground, shoulder blades come together, and then press your whole spine towards the sky, shoulder blades widen. Good, let's do one more like that. And hold. Now, we're just gonna find a little posterior tilt. So lift your belly button, tuck your tailbone a little baby bit. Yep. Slide one foot out, other foot comes to meet it. Yeah. Good, everybody. Nice job. Yep. Nancy, less through your thoracic, but the rest of it looks gorgeous. Kyle, tuck your tailbone a little baby bit. Good, Stephanie. Yeah. Now, just letting yourself hinge around your shoulders and knees, tap your knees down, lift back up. Tap the knees down, lift back up. Now, if you're like, I hate forearm plank, I want a hand plank, you can always be in a hand plank. No problem. Whatever works best for you and your body today. Tuck the tailbone. Thank you. Two. Last one. Knees down. Press yourself into a rest position. Take your hands up and over to one side. And then we get to do the other side. Come back to center and come onto your forearms again. Now, if at any point you're like, I just want to drop my head, use your prop here, nod your chin. We're trying to keep those deep neck cervical flexors strong so we're not overworking the front of our neck, right? So extend one leg out. Find that tiny posterior tilt. Push the foot away, squeeze the glute, come into just like a horizontal position. Now squeeze and squeeze the glute. Right? It's not about getting a lot of height. It's about engaging the glute. So once you engage it, you can hold, keep it at its end range, and then squeeze a little harder, and hold and keep it at its end range and squeeze a little harder. I'm okay with it slowly creeping up as long as you're keeping your abs engaged. 4, 3, 2 more, hold. Now think about just dragging your foot across your midline and then back to center. So now inner thigh, inner thigh. Hey, is that glute still working though? Yes, it should be. If it is not, remind it that it has a job. We have 5, and that stabilizing side should be working too. 4, 3, seeing if you can use your obliques to help stabilize you as well as those glutes. Now the foot can tap out to the side, rush back to center. And tap out to the side, rush back to center. Good. And hey, everybody, breaks are great. If you need one, take one. We have 5, 4, 3 more. Almost there. Other side. If you need a break, press yourself into your rest position so your shoulders get to offload for a second. And then come on back. Think about your knees pressing down and out so that side glute can kick on. Lift your belly button a little baby bit. Slide that foot out. Push it so far away that it has no other option than to lift. We have tiny little squeezes here. Now, once again, it's not so much about height as it is muscle recruitment. However, a lot of times if you squeeze and hold and then let go a little bit without lowering the leg and then you squeeze and hold again, you might be able to get a little bit more range through that specific joint, right? So this is hip extension, not lumbar extension. So whether we get more range or not, we're trying to get it recruited through the hip joint, right? 4, 3, slow and juicy. 2, now just squeeze it across your body for inner thigh. Good. Beautiful, everyone. Imagine dragging your leg through wet sand. It's kind of interesting, but our nervous system responds to what our brain tells it, right? So if you tell it, oh, I'm just moving my leg, try it. Just be like, oh, my leg is floating in space. It doesn't have to do anything. Versus, oh, I'm dragging it through wet sand. See what encourages more muscle recruitment. 3, 2. Now, tap it out to the side. Squeeze, come back to center. Tap out to the side. Squeeze, come back to center. Do you feel how even your core has to respond, like even your abs have to respond to the different stimuli of the leg to help keep you center? Yeah. We have 4, 3, 2 more. Last one. Knees down, press yourself into a little rest position. Now go ahead and come up onto your knees for a second. We're just seeing how our hip flexors are before we do our next move. Now, if you're like me and you're like, my hip flexors are always tight, you might notice that you're bent forward a little or your back is trying to arch. So just squeeze your glutes, thinking of your pubic bone pointing forward at least as much as your hip bones. Good. I'll bring one foot forward. Then it can be pretty far forward. We're going to root that foot into the ground. Imagine dragging our heel back so that knee comes forward. And we're tucking our tailbone a little bit. Squeeze this back cheek. Everybody feel that front? Yeah. And breathe. Now gently push your foot, your back foot, gently, 10% of your ability, into the ground. For 5. Everybody feel that light up a little bit? Yeah. Inhale. Exhale, stop pressing. Squeeze your glute. Maybe you get a little bit more movement. One more time. So press down. So it's kind of neat that this is like an immediate response, right? Big inhale. Big exhale, squeeze to relax. Yeah. Now, does that mean that it is a long-term like change? Not necessarily. Push into that foot, we get to do the other side. However, we can take advantage of that and turn it into a longer-term adaptation, right? So press into that foot. You can tuck your tailbone a little. Think about dragging yourself forward. And then we're gently going to press that foot into the ground for 5, 4, 3, 2. Big inhale. Big exhale, squeeze that glute. Maybe get a little bit more movement. And we press down again. Big inhale. Big exhale, squeeze. And then you can press back. All right. Now, let's try to get as much range out of this as we can. Coming back onto forearms. Bend one knee. So it's like you've got the ball and you're trying to squeeze that heel towards your glute. If you want the prop, you can use it. Now press your thigh up towards the sky without your back moving. If your back moved, don't let it. Now let the knee rotate out to the side. Pull the knee in towards your shoulder without your back moving. And then bring it towards your other leg. Now, hold that, don't let it move. We go the opposite direction. So brush the knee out. And then we push the thigh towards the sky. Let the leg slowly come down. And we're trying to find our full range here, so it's slow and deliberate, right? So reach the knee as high as it'll go without the back responding. And then let it come out to the side. Pull it in. And then across. And then again out. And then thigh to the sky. And slowly decelerate. One more, push the foot back. Knee out to the side. Pull the knee towards the shoulder. And in. Push the knee out, still pulling it towards the shoulder. Push the knee behind you. Now drive that heel towards the sky. And then slowly decelerate. Other side. Yeah. So we're actually getting our full range, right? And since we are shortening that hamstring, we're forcing our quad, like our rectus femoris, and then out, which that quadricep doubles as a hip flexor. It's the only quadricep that does. we're forcing it to get a little bit of a stretch as well. Press up, slowly turn it out, pull it up towards your shoulder, bring it in, sweep the knee out, pressing it away, rotate the foot towards the sky, floating it down, last one. Widening through your sits bones a little bit. Good, you guys. And down. Coming on to our stomachs. Bring your hands to the floor. Think about suction cupping them to the ground. Armpits activate. Drag your elbows into a goalpost. Now, push your hands and elbows into the ground to spiral your collarbones forward, like you're being shot out of a cannon. Good. Nancy, lift towards me. There. Now squeeze one glute. Other side. Now, if you really lifted from your lower back, think about all the glute work we just did, right? Where we kept our lower back pretty much out of it, yeah? Good. Doesn't have to be high in order to be great. Now, if you're like, cool, I'd like more work, please squeeze both of them. And you can float. Yeah. Now, this is called swimming. This should not be like crazy choppy waters, right? If you can maintain pretty stable through here, you can take your arms forward. You can maintain stability there. But if all of a sudden, ooh, the waters are rough, bring it back down for a second. Good. 2. Yeah, it's okay to move your hips, yeah. And then press yourself back into a rest position. Coming through our plank, we're coming to standing. If you're like, I would prefer not to come through the plank, you don't have to. You can get up any way you need to. Relax over your legs for a second, and then scoop. Roll yourselves up. Now, we're going to try a variation of what we did on the ground. Don't be surprised if it feels very different, okay? So bring one knee up as high as you easily can, right? If you need a little help, that's okay. Now, internally rotate that thigh, take it out to the side. I'll turn towards the side. And then we point the foot towards the sky and bring it down. Then press it back. Now we externally rotate, knee goes out, and then bring it up. Push the foot into the floor. We get to do the other side. So it's okay if it's not perfect. It's information, right? So if you're like, oh, I can't get my leg very high, use your hand and see if you can hold it for a second. Yeah. And then without the hip hiking, we internally rotate, let the knee go out. Yeah. Yeah, you can use your hand to give it a little suggestion and then let it come to that relatively neutral position. And then out and then back. Good. Plant both feet, push into them, squeeze your inner thighs, and then take your thumbs back, open your collarbones, relax down. Nice job, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your night. You are awesome. Nice work, you guys.